Please like this video. It will really help this story reach as many people as possible. Thank you so much for your support. She came down the hall on a Saturday night like the house was just a coat check. Heels, trench still on, hair perfect. She didn't pause at me in the entry. She checked her reflection in the mirror by the door, adjusted the gold hoops, then reached for the handle. "I'm heading out," Vanessa tossed over her shoulder. "Just a small thing. Old friends catching up." "Where?" I folded my arms. "Our shepherd, Duke, lay down against my boot like a silent witness. Don't overthink it. It's casual." She touched the pulse at her neck, same spot she sprayed those special perfumes she'd said were for our anniversary. The scent floated like a headline. "Casual with Natalie Rhodes?" I kept my tone even. "Closed guest lists, phone face down, new schedule." "That Natalie. She didn't blink." "Don't dig into it. We're just syncing. If you walk out with that lie between us," I said, calm enough to make her finally glance at me, "don't expect it to be here when you get back." She smiled like I'd told a dad joke and slipped out. The door clicked. Duke let out a breath and settled. I stood there a beat longer, the scent of those perfumes refusing to move. This wasn't a night out. It was a pivot. Different rules, different stage. And I wasn't on it. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have cleared the calendar sooner. I poured coffee I didn't need, sat at the kitchen island, and started rewriting my week. The hiking trip for Sunday, pulled. The dinner with her boss and spouse, canceled with a brief, polite text, scheduling conflict. Shared account notifications, muted for me, limits set, not announced. I drafted a note for Vanessa, short. "From today, we operate on facts. Shared funds for essentials only. Communication, clarified. Logistics, property, non-negotiables. Everything else, later." I didn't send it. I taped it to the fridge where she put reminders for dry cleaning. If she wanted to live by invitations, she could read one. The next morning, she slept at an undisclosed location and posted nothing. In our backyard, the snowbanks had hardened into pale walls. I shoveled a clean path to the garage and drove to my friend Marcus's warehouse in Rhino. He runs a custom metal shop and a side business in Bad Advice. He looked me over. "Man, you've got that Sunday face." Vanessa's moved our marriage to invite only. He set down the grinder and wiped his hands. "Is that a thing you RSVP to?" "I'm moving to structure. Essentials only. I'm done guessing." He nodded once. "You up for a trip this week?" "Works light." "Say it." "Chicago. Client wants railing prototypes. I need a second set of hands. You can stare at a skyline and remember you're a human. And if she texts, you reply when it's functional." He grinned. "I know you. You won't make a scene. You'll make a plan. Bring Duke. Not unless he can lift steel." By midweek, we were on the road, the plains peeling into gray winter. I sent Vanessa one message from a rest stop, simple. "Out of town for 3 days on work. Essentials covered. Back Friday night." She responded with a heart and a line. "Okay. Don't stress. No location. No invitation." In Chicago, the client was all caffeine and tape measures. I stayed late to run welds while Marcus negotiated payments. We finished early evening Friday. Snow hissed against the windows, turning the city into a postcard. While we wrapped cables, Marcus glanced at his phone and raised an eyebrow. "Funny overlap," he said. "Natalie Rhodes, your favorite, tagged at a rooftop downtown. Some winter fundraiser. Invite only. Your wife likes rooftop views. She likes the part where people turn when she walks in." He pulled on his jacket. "Let's see the view. We'll stand on a sidewalk. No scenes." The building was one of those glass towers pretending to be timeless. Outside the entrance, velvet rope, 2 suited guys checking names. I kept my hands in my pockets. We stepped up. The taller one looked us over. "Names?" "Ethan and Marcus," I said, more of a habit than a hope. He didn't check anything. "Not on the list." "Sure," I answered. "We're not here to debate your clipboard." Marcus leaned back, just enough to clock faces through the revolving doors. "Well, that's interesting." He dipped his chin. "Left side, silver blazer, ugly loafers. Trevor Lang. The tech guy? The collector of rare things, including people with expensive tastes," Marcus said, dry as salt. "He scouts in rooms like this. You know who introduces him? People like your Natalie. You seeing Vanessa?" I didn't. I saw the type. Dresses curated to photograph well, Men with the permanent smile of guys who haven't carried their own bags in a decade, and a bar arranged like a jewelry store. Not pushing it, Marcus added. We're not 14. We're not even curious, I said. We're confirming. We stood there long enough for a car service to drop off 2 influencers and a hedge fund rumor. The rope never lifted for us. We walked back to the truck with nothing but the confirmation I'd come for. It wasn't about old friends. It was about a league where vows are decorations and family is a footnote. I drove us to the hotel and slept in a quiet that didn't feel like rest. Vanessa let herself in just before sunrise. Duke's nails ticked across the floor. He hesitated, looked at me in the kitchen, then went to her. She came in with pink roses like a prop and set them on the island. You're back, she said, like she hadn't crossed any wires. Wow, long night. Chicago is, you know. She trailed off, checking my face for a cue. You smell like those perfumes you said you'd saved, I replied. We keep saying words we don't honor. That's the problem. It was a fundraiser. She started untying her trench. You're acting like I committed a crime for having a life. This isn't about oxygen, I told her. It's about honesty. You want a separate track? You can take it. I'll adjust. She frowned. Adjust to what? To me not filling blanks for you, I said, tapping the paper on the fridge. Read it. It's not punitive. It's structure. Essentials are covered. Communication stays on logistics. If you want more, bring clarity, not fog. She squinted at the note like it was written in code. You put rules on your wife. I set rules for myself, I answered, and boundaries for my property. If we're roommates with rings, I'll manage it like a property manager. That is cold. That is clear. She tried another angle. I think you're anxious. I wanted to look nice. That's all. You can say that too. You looked great, I replied. You looked like someone who practiced an exit in the mirror. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now let's get back to the story. She bristled. I'm exhausted. Can we not pick a fight? I brought roses. Roses don't fix math, I said. We'll keep this simple. She sighed, then softened her mouth like a winter sun. Okay, she said. Okay. You'll see it's not a big deal. It was the first warm patch. Thin, strategic, enough to pretend the ice was gone. I didn't buy it, but I let the day be quiet. I went to the shop, set up next week's contracts, and ate a sandwich alone in the truck with the radio off. When I got home, Vanessa had bought fancy cheese and left a note. Dinner at 7? I moved it to the side and booked a meeting with a financial planner for Monday. She preferred champagne to checkbooks. I preferred numbers to speeches. By Wednesday, we had a house guest, Chloe, her younger sister, with 2 suitcases and a weary smile. She's a year out of a messy breakup that everyone in their family has opinions about. She walked in, hugged me like we were old co-workers who'd survived a layoff, and set 1 suitcase at the base of the stairs. You sure? She asked. Temporary. I'm not trying to nest. You can occupy the guest room, not the master, I said, and she laughed. Vanessa kissed her cheek. You'll love it. Girls' nights, finally. Chloe looked around. Where are the girls? New friends, adult circles, Vanessa tossed. You'll meet them Friday. I'm planning a little welcome back thing. Chloe raised an eyebrow at me. I offered no commentary. In the kitchen later, Chloe rinsed a glass and kept her voice low. You okay if I say the obvious? Say it. She's chasing something that lives in rooms with velvet ropes, she said. It doesn't feed anyone. It just claps. I won't run interference, but I'm not lying for her. I'm not asking you to. She nodded. Good. Then this will be honest. Friday, our house turned into a mock lounge. Vanessa had hired a DJ who parked a cart by the bar and stacked neon napkins like flags. The guest list skewed glossy. People who used the word curate about appetizers, men who sell solutions, women who measure attention like steps on a watch. Natalie Rhodes arrived with an air kiss. Vanessa floated behind her like a debutante with a second chance. Marcus leaned his elbow on the island and looked at me. You want me here? Stay, I said. I'm not hiding in my garage. I live here. Natalie smiled at me with perfect teeth. Ethan, I've heard everything about you. We need to get you out more. I've been out, I said. Chicago rooftops are lovely this time of year. Her smile thinned a millimeter. Oh, you were there. At the rope, I said. I admire a good system. Keeps priorities crisp. She touched her hair. We should talk about opportunities. I'm full up on those, I said. Vanessa appeared between us, glass in hand. Don't make this awkward, she told me quietly. You booked a DJ for your sister's settling in, I replied. It's already a concept. The evening loosened the room. Music, chatter, a couple of people pretending not to check their phones for likes. I stayed on one beer and water, circulated, answered actual questions, and ignored probing. Duke lay under the table like a bodyguard who'd retired. I could feel the line in Vanessa's shoulders when she decided to perform. She stepped onto the little area by the fireplace where the DJ had placed a light. She clinked her glass with a spoon, laughter in her throat, the crowd turning toward her like sunflowers. Okay, she announced. First, welcome back to my sister. Second, thank you all for being here. Third, she pivoted to me with a smile that was all enamel. Marriage is funny. You think you pick a partner. Then you realize you picked a roommate with rules. A couple of people tittered. Marcus's eyes bounced to me. I didn't move. Vanessa kept going, voice bright. He's a great guy. He just forgets I'm me. So I go breathe. You know how it is. I didn't interrupt. I didn't rescue. She took that as a green light. And then she went bigger. She laughed that practiced laugh and threw it into the room. My wife laughed. Every day I'm more certain. You're not worthy of me, her gorgeous, single sister looked at me. Please. He deserves better. Me, for example. The room froze mid-chuckle. I swung not to her, but to Chloe. Chloe didn't blink. She set down her glass, stepped forward just enough to be under the same weak light, and looked at me, not Vanessa. I'm not doing this, she told the room. Not the part where he's the punchline. He pays the mortgage and feeds the dog and shows up. That deserves respect. So cut it out. Vanessa's smile stuttered. Chloe, it was a joke. Chloe didn't step down. You want a joke? Okay. You keep shopping for eyes to clap at you. He deserves people who clap because he's solid. The DJ pretended to fiddle with wires to avoid eye contact. Natalie looked like she'd smelled cleaning supplies. Marcus muttered, well then. Vanessa's cheeks held their shape, but the room had turned. The mask of hostess slipped. The crowd clocked the real thing. She dropped the mic, figuratively, and set her glass on the mantel. Excuse me, she said, and moved through the guests like a blade through water, out the back, around the deck, into the night. The party kept buzzing, but at a lower voltage. Chloe took a breath and went to the kitchen to cut a cake she hadn't baked. I stayed put. My boundary had just been set for me, publicly. The first consequence landed. The room saw the gap. I didn't need to say a speech. I just needed to act. 10 minutes later, Natalie sidled up. She's sensitive. Don't make it a whole thing, she advised. The way people do when their brand depends on pretending nothing happened. It already is a thing, I said. A family thing. We'll handle it. She tensed. Handle how? Like adults, I answered. With signatures and logistics. Marcus bumped my elbow. You good? I'm done apologizing for having a spine, I said. By midnight, the guests had thinned. The DJ rolled his cart through the side gate without goodbyes. I loaded the rental glassware into boxes and stacked them in the garage. Around 1 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was Vanessa's Instagram. She'd posted a photo on a Chicago rooftop at sunset from earlier in the week. Next to her, a man in a tailored coat. He wasn't touching her, but they were aligned in that way people align when they want alignment seen. The caption, "We don't owe anyone anything." I handed the phone to Chloe. She scanned it, lips pressing. She knew exactly what she was doing. I said quietly. She thinks it's leverage, Chloe murmured back. It probably worked on others. It doesn't work here. What are you going to do? I typed while we stood there. Attorney. Monday. First available. Then I forwarded myself the title documents, insurance policies, and the inventory list I keep because life rewards boring habits. I moved our shared utilities to view only for her login and set a budget line for the month with category locks. I froze the secondary card. I sent Vanessa a short text. We'll handle the property and accounts formally. Meeting being scheduled. Until then, your access is essential only. If you need something, text specifics. She replied after a beat. You're upset. I'm organized, I wrote back. Marcus whistled under his breath. That's a lot of chess for 1 a.m. I've been playing in my head for weeks, I said. He clapped my shoulder and left. Chloe stood in the doorway, arms folded, eyes steady. "I'll be around," she said. "If you need a witness, I know what I saw." "I don't need a jury," I replied. "I need a conclusion." Monday morning, the attorney's office smelled like coffee and file folders. The attorney, a woman who looked like she had seen every version of this story, scanned the highlights I'd brought. "You're not interested in fireworks," she observed. "I'm interested in clarity," I said. "The house is premarital, the accounts are primarily mine. I want an agreement that reflects how we've actually lived." She may not like that. She likes stage lights. This is fluorescent. We set a date for Wednesday. I sent Vanessa the appointment details with the same neutral tone you use to confirm a plumber. She texted, "You can't be serious." I answered, "I am. Bring your ID." She didn't reply. Around dinner, she tried the second warm patch. She came home with a bag of takeout, set it on the counter, and poured a glass of wine. She spoke before I could. "I don't want war," she started. I felt like I was disappearing into chores. "The only time I feel seen is when I'm out." "That's all." "That's not all," I said. "What you want is a stage where attention is a currency. You think your vows buy you tickets to that. They don't. You're making me the villain." "I don't need a villain," I said. "I need peace. The path I'm taking gives me that." She stepped closer. "We can fix this, Ethan. We can organize it," I corrected. "Then we can leave each other with our names intact." She sighed, then tried one last time. "What about Chloe? What about her?" "She's inserting herself." "You think she helped?" "But she made it worse." "She told the truth," I said. "You're not used to that in front of an audience." She went upstairs, then came down later and sat across from me on the couch, like we were two people waiting in an airport. "This is dramatic," she tried. "No," I said. "It's adult." Wednesday, we sat with the attorney. Vanessa wore a blazer that said competent and a face that said cornered but charming. The attorney reviewed the draft. Vanessa tried a joke. It didn't land. "What about the house?" Vanessa asked. "It's separate property," the attorney said, gentle but immovable. "There's room for an agreement that recognizes your contributions, but that doesn't include title." Vanessa looked at me. "You'd really lock me out of that." "I'm not locking you out," I answered. "I'm closing the door you walked out of. There's a difference." The conversation stayed calm. Proof does that. In the end, she signed a short agreement acknowledging no claim to the house or the bulk of my savings in exchange for a clean transition. She did it because Alyssa, our attorney, made the math plain, and because Vanessa had read the room on Friday and knew her audience shrank. After, we drove home in separate cars because that felt truer than sharing a ride. She came in, retrieved suitcases, and walked around the bedroom gathering things without drama. I stood in the doorway, arms folded, Duke sitting like a piece of furniture that had feelings. She turned once, suitcase in hand. "I don't hate you," she offered. "I was scared of disappearing into laundry." "You know, you didn't disappear," I replied. "You went loud in rooms that rewarded you for it. You made choices. So did I." "You'll what?" "Move on with Chloe." There it was. The desperate attempt to reframe. I shook my head. "This isn't about Chloe. This is about boundaries. The paperwork says what it says." Footsteps on the stairs. Chloe leaned over the railing with a calm expression. "Do you want me to open the red from last night?" she asked me, casual, like we were discussing weather. Vanessa froze a hair too long. Control gone. Comfort dissolving. Status back to the shelf. "No," I said to Chloe. "I'm driving in an hour." I turned to Vanessa. "You have what you need." She zipped the suitcase. "I'll send for the rest." "Text a list," I told her. "We'll schedule pickup. Logistics only." She walked past me with the rolling wheel noise of endings, paused at the front door, glanced at the hall mirror one last time. No audience, no applause, and left. Duke watched, then turned to me like, "Now what?" "Now structure." I changed the alarm codes and removed her access from the home app. I sent a short email to utilities confirming the new arrangements. I told the landscaper to bill only me. I updated my schedule for the next month. Mondays at Marcus's, Tuesdays running estimates, Thursdays open for actual rest. I pulled our anniversary reservation, future solved. It felt less like loss and more like clearing a workbench. The text started that week. Not from Vanessa. From the circle that feeds on other people's oxygen. "Natalie, we should talk." I think you're making rash decisions. Me. Decisions were made when honesty left. We're doing logistics. A man I'd seen at the party. Heard you and V are taking space. You okay? Me. Better with quiet. Vanessa posted less. When she did, it was backdrops and word salads. No house, no dog, no kitchen where she used to stir sauces. The rooftop man didn't repeat. Attention is a fickle landlord. I didn't chase anything. That's not the same as going numb. It just meant I ran my life like a project and let the feelings clock in and clock out like shift workers. Marcus swung by the shop and handed me a coffee. You look 10 pounds lighter, he said. I sleep, I answered. The silence is honest. He grinned. There's a sentence. So, you done with rooms that have ropes? I like rooms with doors, I said. I know how those work. Weeks later, a Thursday, I ended up at O'Malley's with the guys. Ordinary bar. No velvet, no spotlight. Just TVs with scores and a decent burger that no one pretends is art. I sat at the high top with Marcus and Ben from the shop. We were arguing about snow tires when Chloe walked in. She scanned, saw me, smiled with the relief of someone who found a familiar face at a crowded train station. Busy night, she said, pulling a stool. I needed noise that isn't performed. She ordered ginger ale, because even in chaos some people stay practical. Ben leaned toward me, raising his eyebrows at Chloe in a way that annoyed me before it finished happening. Upgrade, he joked softly. Copy better than the original. I looked at him until he shifted. No, I said. Different lanes. Legal's handled. We don't mix processes. Ben put up both hands. Got it. Chloe shook her head. Men should come with a manual. They do, I said. It says, don't test the brakes for fun. She laughed. Fair. We talked about anything but Vanessa. Music at the shop, Marcus's infuriatingly slow camping stove, how Chloe's job search actually excited her because now she could pick a place that cared about output over optics. She was funny, smart, decent, and she never once used me as a mirror. That mattered. As we were leaving, Chloe looked at me near the door. You handled it, she said, not a question. I did my half, I answered. The rest is gravity. She hesitated. For what it's worth, the way you stayed calm when she tried to make you a joke, that taught me something. What? That attention is cheap, she said. Respect is expensive. I walked her to her car and went home to a house that felt larger without extra noise. I stood in the entry where the whole thing started. The mirror still hung there. I didn't look in it. I scratched Duke behind the ears and turned out the light. Life didn't get quieter because I won anything. It got clearer because I stopped auditioning. I opened the shop earlier, trained the new guy, signed 2 projects that would keep us busy through summer. On Sundays, I drove into the foothills and split firewood the old way. Last week, I bought a truck that fits my work without needing any attention. I didn't need a rooftop to enjoy the view. The Front Range gives you a skyline for free if you pay with effort. I hear about Vanessa through people who thrive on circulation. She's in smaller rooms now. The captions got longer and said less. Her circle rotated. That's not my problem. You can spend years trying to be adored by 1,000 strangers and forget the one pair of eyes that actually matters at home. The last time we crossed, months later, was by accident in a grocery store aisle. She reached for a jar at the same time I did, then pulled back like the shelf might testify. Hi, she said, voice neutral. Hey, you look good. I sleep, I repeated. She forced a smile. I'm glad it all worked out for you. It worked out for both of us, I said. You got your nights. I got my mornings. She nodded, didn't argue, moved on. I finished shopping. At the register, the cashier made small talk about weather. Honest words about a predictable thing. It felt like a luxury. Here's what I know now. Respect leaves in inches and returns in contracts. You can either chase applause or you can build a life where you don't need it. When she chose the rope over the ring, I didn't pull harder. I let go and walked to a better door. And when it closed, it stayed closed, not from anger, but because anything else would be a step backward. On my way out of O'Malley's last night, Marcus asked if I had any regrets. I told him the truth. I regret not naming it sooner, I said. I gave the benefit of the doubt to someone who banked it and spent it in rooms where the only rule is eyes up front. He snorted. And now? Now I invest in quiet, I said, and in people who don't need an audience to behave. He held the door. You should put that on a sign. I did, I told him. It's called a deed. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.